Welcome to Wave Makers, the podcast where we dive into the stories of bold thinkers, trailblazers, and innovators who are making waves in their communities, industries, and beyond. Together, we'll explore the ideas, challenges, and victories of people who are shaping the future. At Wave Makers, we bring you thought-provoking conversations with those who are pushing the boundaries, defying expectations, and creating impact in their own unique ways. While we're proudly produced by Rio Salado College, a place that values lifelong learning and community impact, this podcast isn't just about education. It's about real-world stories of passion, perseverance, and progress. So, if you're ready to dive deep into the big ideas and get inspired by those who are making waves, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Michelle Reese, and I am your host today for Wave Makers. I cannot be more excited to introduce to you our new guests for today. But first, since this is our first podcast, I'll share a little bit about my background as your host. I've spent about 10 years in public relations and marketing for education, first at the K-12 level and then at the community college level. I don't even know if my guests know this, but I started and ended my bachelor's degrees actually with a community college course. So my first experience was when I was in high school. They invited a group of us to take community college journalism at Scottsdale Community College. And then over the next 4 years, as I was working on my degree at the University of Arizona, I had a few gaps here and there and needed to fill it in with a community college course. And that's how I finished my degree way back then. So today we are here to welcome two former Rio Salado College students. And the great thing about this conversation today is not only are they connected through their student leadership at Rio Salado College, but they are good friends. So we should have a great discussion. So we'll start. Cordero, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your connection with Rio Salado and community college?
Hello, everyone. My name is Cordero Holmes. My connection with Rio Salado College is I started my collegiate journey while I was incarcerated, and I enrolled into the reentry program. I soon got out of prison not too long after that and enrolled in Rio Salado College and just really wanted a certificate. I got a level 1, I got a level 2 certificate in addictions and substance use disorders. And my advisor was like, hey, do you want a degree? And I said, well, why not? So I then later on went to get an associate's in applied science and another associate's in the arts with an emphasis in psychology. And I've never left Rio ever since. I've since go to another college, but I come here every chance I get.
And we are so glad that you do. So our next guest actually recently left Rio. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, a very recent graduate, very proud graduate of Rio Salado College, class of 2024. I also completed my associates in level 1 and 2 certificate in addictions and substance use counseling from the behavioral health program here at Rio. I should have said my name first. So my name is Beka Namachanja. Again, like I said, super proud to be a Rio Salado alumni and super proud to be a part of this inaugural, Wave Maker podcast.
Yeah, you guys are definitely wave makers in our eyes here at Rio because of what you've both accomplished, both at the college and as you're preparing to leave, Beka, and the last few years since you've graduated, Cordero. So let's just talk a little bit about that. What are you doing now, Beka? What are your next steps?
I am getting ready for more schooling. I'm grateful for a lot of the assistance and the support that I got while at Rio from everyone, from my advisors, very specific people like mentors like John, Bastian, and Dr. Lily Davidoff. Because of their support, I was able to secure a scholarship full ride to Arizona State University. So in a couple of days, I will be starting at the downtown Phoenix campus, Watts College, I did initially want to do social work, but that has quickly changed. I'll be pursuing a bachelor's in neuroscience with a minor in policy, public policy.
Wonderful. Wow, that's incredible. As we're recording this here, middle of August here in Arizona, a lot of schools are starting to get back into session, and certainly that's true for our Rio students, though they can start any time of the year. But we know that's also true for our sister university here just down the road, where I know you just graduated from Cordero. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I just recently graduated from Arizona State University. I actually graduated from the school that Beka is going to be attending, the Watts College Public Solutions, Community Solutions. I graduated there with a bachelor's in science and public service and public policy, with a concentration in nonprofit leadership and management, as well as a credential in certified nonprofit professionalism. It's been amazing, and because all the individuals that have assisted that she had just spoke about, John Bastian, Dr. Lily Devidoff, are the same individuals that have assisted me in acquiring the scholarships that made it fortunate enough for me to be not able to pay, not have to pay to go to school, and so I'm real grateful for the same people that she's grateful for, and everybody here at Rio Salado College for assisting me on this journey.
You know, one thing I've heard from both of you that maybe you could share and elaborate on, you guys are talking about real connections with people at a 2-year community college. Going into your experience, you know, before starting at Rio, did you think that was something that would happen at a 2-year college? And how did you make it happen?
I can take that one really quickly. Not just the 2-year college, but the online part of it all. When I started, I was just guns blazing. I need to eat up as many classes as I can, get this associates, and move on to the next one. John is actually the person that reached out to me. And from that point in time, I discovered this, you know, I've always said this before, that Rio Salado College is a real place. It's not just an offshoot of one of the 10 campuses or colleges, I should say, within the Maricopa Community College District. It's a real space with real people who work very hard to ensure that students not only are academically prepared for whatever it is that they're preparing for in their lives, whether it's the career or further studies, but really to make sure that our life circumstances that we have to face in order to pursue our goals, those things are accommodated. And I think that's a hallmark that a 4-year university is not quite able to do in much the way that a community college, a 2-year college is able to do. So especially for Rio, I think all the staff, all the faculty, and I mean that from President Kate all the way to janitors that I've met, they take the idea of community very seriously.
That's something, you know, we're very proud of here at Rio, but that's also just kind of a hallmark of this conversation and this podcast, is to talk about the impact that everybody, individuals have in the community, whether it, you know, be at a community college, at, you know, a K-12, you know, within municipalities. It really is a community that we're trying so hard to build. But we know it takes certain steps to get there. And in a moment, I want to, you know, hear from both of you how you came to Rio Salado. But Beka, I do have a little surprise for you. We are about ready to launch our fall marketing campaign. And Beka was gracious enough to tell her story in a way that we could turn that into materials to share with the community, to really help inspire, to help motivate. And I know after we share this video with you, we're going to talk a little bit and go more in depth with both of you about your stories. So let me get that queued up for you. So Beka, why don't you go ahead and hit push play there?
In moments of reflection, we find strength to overcome hardship and self-doubt, guided by our loved ones. We turn each challenge into an achievement, one victory at a time. Define your moment.
Oh my God. I almost look like a professional actress.
No, you did such a great job with us. You know, we're so excited to be able to share more of your story, and we're really hoping that video is going to, you know, have people asking that question. You know, there's a challenge in telling a full story in a 30-second video. And I know both of you have. I know.
I didn't want to look at him because I knew I would
cry. Okay, I forgot the tissues. I'm sorry.
We do this all the time. We share tears and laughs and everything in between. And going back to that question that you asked earlier, real friendships, real bonds have been forged for me in the past 2 years that I'm pretty sure will last a lifetime.
I have no doubt, and that certainly goes for both of you. And I've seen the friendship develop, between you two, and you're not shy about sharing your background stories. And I think there's that connectedness between both of you as well. So I know that, that video is just a tiny glimpse of your story. And I'm hoping we have enough time to share some here. We'll share more on the blog also. But when you watch that video, when you think about your journey, tell me about how that journey started. What was the moment that kind of defined what you were going to do next?
I think on the question of next, I'd have to go to the very beginning. And it's something that I think about a lot. And hopefully I can get through this without shedding more tears. My first memory in life is of my mother. I used to be the first stop for the bus driver when I was really little in kindergarten. So it would come at like 5 a.m. in the morning. And so my first memory is of me looking up to her and her just kind of speaking words to me about the future and when you grow up, what are you going to be? And every week it was a different game because, one day you want to be a pilot, one day you want to be I remember learning the word biochemist, and I just thought it was the coolest word ever. And so that foundation had always guided me. I graduated high school, had started in the medical field, and then I had some family situations that came up, so I had to take care of a family member, my father. And so in trying to, as an adult, reconfigure your life and decipher what it is that I'm going to do next in order to pivot, not only away from what life had become, but back to what I originally had wanted it to be, what that picture was going to look like. And so Rio Salado College for me was an opportunity because it's online. So I was working as a case manager. And so I would, in between clients, park at a QT and type out some, a little bit of homework here and there. And because of that flexibility, the affordability, and again, the support from very individuals within this system that you all have created that pushes, at least for me, it pushed me towards my goals in ways that I never ever thought were going that I could accomplish within the amount of time that I did. And so I'm very grateful. I call Rio my forever alma mater because you all did for me what even I didn't think was possible given my circumstances.
That's incredible. And I'm so honored to be able to share a part of that. A lot of our students have years of living before they even become students. It's not the typical pathway for a lot of our students. It's not high school, then college. And both of you share that experience. I'm so grateful that you're willing to share that experience and how that came about. And I know that others are going to hear that and be open to the idea of, wow, I've lived a lot, but I had ideas for myself when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And it's not too late to turn that around and get back to that. So that's incredible that you're doing that. And I know, Cordero, you and I have shared your story over coffee and laughter many times, but I really would love for you to share it here with the audience as well.
Well, I think going back to what Beka just talked about, the flexibility and the convenience of Rio Salado College is the reason why Rio Salado College was a college for me. And like her, I have to go back to where I began my collegiate journey, which was in prison. And upon my release, the only college that I thought would accept me based on the scope of knowledge that I possessed at that time was Rio Salado College. So I knew about the big colleges, the universities, the Phoenix colleges, et cetera, but I knew that Rio Salado College had that online component that was necessary for me to do it because when I got out, I have 4 children, I have to work, I got full custody of 2 of my 4 children, and so I'm navigating life and how it works. My oldest son, Cordero, when he was born, he was 14 ounces and 12 inches long. He had a wonderful nurse, Miss Maureen Cronin, who we unfortunately lost a couple of years ago. But we got a new nurse who's amazing. And but I had to navigate. I had to learn these different systems that I just didn't know nothing about. And so, like Beka, sitting in gas stations and going on breaks at work and doing the school work was what I needed to do. And I had to pick up children. I had to do a lot of things. And so, like her saying that this is her forever alma mater, I really like that because this too is my forever alma mater as well. Rio Salado College, it played a large part of me staying out of prison because when I was young, I didn't know what I was going to do. I fell into a habit and a pattern of self-destructive habits that since the age of 13, I was in and out of institutions, juvenile institutions, later on to prison, and then getting out and knowing that I didn't want to do that anymore. I had to replace it with something else, and I replaced it with academia here at Rio Salado College.
Wow, and that's a testimony. That is a testimony to who you are, what you've gained, how you plan to move forward. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people come to that moment in different ways. I guess one thing I would love for you to share with the audience is, at what point of your academic journey did you realize, wow, I'm actually going to accomplish this. I can do this. And then to pivot on that, let's talk about, if there's people listening, what advice do you have to give? Because you guys probably have just loads of information from your years here. Because it wasn't as simple, as far as I know, 2 years and you were done, even though we call ourselves a 2-year college. Like you said, you both were working. You were raising a family. You had to fit school into your life. So talk to me a little bit about when you were going on this academic journey. When did you go, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, I'm accomplishing it? What made you realize that?
Well, again, this going back to the scope of knowledge, and I use that often. Me and Beka have talked about this plenty of times. I just wanted to get a certificate. I wanted to get a level 1 and a level 2 certificate in addiction and substance use, so I could go back to my community and I could provide them with the resources and the education that I've learned. And it was my academic advisor, who wasn't officially my academic advisor, Roxy Holmes, who she posed the question: do you want to get a degree? And a degree at that time, based on the scope of knowledge that I possess, might as well have been a master's degree. And so I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And because of during my time, of course, my scope of knowledge began to expand. And so I know that, you go to bachelor's and master's, et cetera. And so that is when I knew, like, I'm getting a degree, although it was based on the scope of knowledge that I possessed, which was kind of short-sighted, but I knew that I could do this, and I never imagined myself getting a degree. And so from there, I got the degree and connected with John Bastian and Dr. Lily Davidoff and Phi Theta Kappa here, and put in for scholarships, and it first came to All Arizona scholarship, which means that I was part of All Arizona academic team, and then the Jack Kent Cook Foundation scholarship, which has just changed my life. It's changed my life dramatically because the job that I was working was at a stucco plant 50 hours a week and working outside. And if you're familiar with stucco, it's not what you want to be around 50 hours a week. And I quit my job and started going to school full time, and that turned into other things. There was other opportunities that arose in that time. I worked with Superintendent Hoffman when she was in office for the Indian Education Advisory Council, which expanded my network altogether, where one thing turned to another, and I just got involved in community work on so many different levels. And so that's when I knew, I wasn't the person that I believed I was when I was younger, and even when I was there. And that really just turned into what it is today. And today I'm gonna be starting my graduate program, where I'll be studying a Master's in Public Administration as well as a Master's in Science in Criminology and Criminal Justice. And I just recently took a position with Progress Pushers Arizona as the Director of Operations, where we'll be working with youth who were going through the same experiences that I was going through as a young man. And so it's all because of Rio Salado College and everything that's happened here.
one tiny step forward, and look how far it's come. It's incredible. It's awe-inspiring. Thank you. And I know you're working alongside him too. So tell me a little bit about, share your part of the story.
So it struck me right now that despite Cordero and I's lives intersecting in this moment in these halls, mine was the opposite. Where as a child growing up, there was the high achievements that just came with being pushed by people around me, and then due to different life circumstances that occurred. We immigrated. There was a lot of challenges that sort of just started coming along the way that became obstacles that derailed, for lack of a better word, whatever trajectory my life was on. And so for the longest time, my thoughts were not having a small scope of knowledge, but feeling as if the opportunities were too far gone. And so for me, actually, COVID ended up being sort of that moment, or the beginning of that moment, and the actions that I started to take in order to better my life, despite not knowing what the end results would be. In the course of time that I've been at Rio, I can't say that I ever at any point felt confident. I just used to do because I figured, just put myself in the right rooms with the right people. I remember I did a program called SPIF, which is done through it's a district-wide program for students all over the Maricopa community colleges. And before the application was due, John calls me and he's like, "Beka, I don't see your application in there." "All right, John, I'll put it in." Dr. D, she was like, "Hey, I don't see your name on this list." "All right, Dr. D, I'll do it." And on and on and on. It was just people calling on you and you just responding to that call. And funny that you asked the question of when was the moment that I knew that, I can do this. It was actually last night for me. I logged into the ASU portal, and I was, it had a lot of prompts on, tasks that I need to complete. And I finished everything, and one of them was the financial part, and it said balance 0. And in that moment, I'm just like, wow, I can literally continue in my academic journey for the next however many years and never have to worry. And that was a big moment for me, because as an adult, you think that these opportunities are not there. And that's why I credit this institution. I credit Rio for not just being the standalone, institution, but you all have fostered so many relationships with so many outside entities, both within the community and nationally, that it makes it easy for anyone who truly, truly has that pursuit and that drive to be able to chart a pathway forward despite their life circumstances, despite having to pick up the kids and drop them off and go to work and do overtime and, struggle with finances. And you all have, like, every question I ever had, every obstacle that came my way, if I couldn't get an answer from someone, they pointed me to someone who did have an answer for me. And so what you all do here has so much value. And when I was talking about community earlier, you all reach inside of spaces that other academic institutions will not. When we talk about the incarcerated program, when we talk about kids who have to dual enroll, not necessarily perhaps because they are high achieving, but because it's cheaper, that for them to continue to pursue their college education at that stage in life, so that it can free them to be able to pursue other things after. From the veterans programs, just different parts of the community, certifications that you can get within weeks or months, just depending, for people to be able to change their life station. That is so important. And so I forgot the other half of your question. Oh, advice.
Let's touch on that, because you've both touched a little bit on the connections you made. And I know, Cordero, you and I have talked about how important it is to share your story so others around you, and those of us, wherever you are at in life, know where you might need help or how you might need help. So let's talk a little bit about, advice also on sharing your story. But yeah, to your point, what advice might you offer someone?
I think there's power, and it's a conversation we had this past weekend. When you have that anxiety, is about, can I do this? To borrow the famous phrase from the company that sells shoes, just do it. You'll be shocked and surprised by what it is that you have inside of you. And when you do it in the right spaces, people in those rooms will recognize things inside of you that you didn't even know you had. And if they are the right rooms, those people will point it out to you and point you in the right direction on how you can continue to build and foster and nurture whatever strengths you have, and also whatever weaknesses you do have that you need to address and work on. Dr. D for me was that person that would tell me, hey, Beka, you need to work on this. And I took it, and I saw the results. I saw the difference in my performance. I saw the difference in the results. And so accepting feedback isn't, I hate to use the word criticism because criticism has a negative connotation, but feedback is important. And so the relationships that you foster need to be of those levels that people can tell you both when you do well and when you don't. Because with the Rio Salado student isn't just a student only. You're not, like we said earlier, straight out of high school, about to accomplish, everything just as a student. We're everything else. We're mothers, we're caretakers, we're, full-time employees, overtime employees, we're in the military, we're all those things. And so the paths that have to be charted in order to get to the finish line for each and every Rio Salado student is going to be different. And so just engaging with the process, engaging with the people. I vouch for this place 1,000. But yeah, that's just being engaged and being present and showing up.
And that's community. Mm-hmm. Everything you just described, that's what communities are about. Cordero, do you want to add to that?
Yeah. If there's anything that I would add, I would say getting out of prison and having to share with individuals that it's some things that I just don't know about because of my experience was initially difficult for me, but I knew was necessary. And that takes an amount of courage, depending on where you come from and where places where you're at in life. But I knew that I had to be courageous, not only for myself, not only for my children and my family, but if I wanted to do all those things that I thought about in regards to my community. And so be courageous. I would say be courageous. The people here are here because they are part of the community. And as I shared, I don't know what I would have done had I not come to Rio Salado College and developed the relationships that I now have with the people here. Because even after I'm gone 2 years, I still come back every time I'm invited.
And we welcome you back with open arms every time.
So I just be courageous, and if you have no family, this is your family, mm-hmm. and if you have family, this is part of it, and because it's been all of that for me.
This has just been an incredible discussion, and I cannot thank you both enough for what you've brought, for your ability to share your story, for your openness, your honestness, and I know this is really just another step in that journey. So we will be hearing from both of you again soon, I hope. Thank you very much. And audience, we appreciate you listening. Hope you can come back again.